We're here with health, and we've got KSA, Kemi Shokwe Agbaby. And quite interesting, the topic alone is complicated in the way it is going together. So it's going to take a lot to break it down, and there's no better person than her to do that. The psychological effects of grief and its connection to anxiety and fear of failure. It's great to have you all. Welcome.
Thank you, Mike.
Okay.
Good to be here again.
So this is something that we can even take in 2 or 3 parts.
I know, right?
Yeah? Okay.
It's loaded.
Oh, yeah, it is. But let's see now. The psychological effects of grief and all of that. Let's start with that. What are these psychological effects that you're talking about, that we're talking about here?
All right, thanks, Mike. So, I'll start with defining what grief is. Grief is the body's natural response to trauma or a sad occurrence or loss, right? So I'm trying to emphasize that to make people realize the fact that it is your body's natural response.
Yeah.
Right? You have malaria and then you have a headache. You know, so the body is responding to that. So, yeah, so that's grief. In terms of the psychological effects, okay, before I come to that, there are different stages of grief so that people can identify exactly where you are
where you
find yourself in that position. There's one, the first one is denial, where you are denying that this happened, you refuse to accept the loss. The second is sadness, intense sadness, right? And then there's anger. You're upset with God, you're upset with life, you're upset with yourself, you start blaming yourself. And then there's bargaining, where you are trying to bargain with God, or you're trying to recover control, you know, of the situation. And then finally, you have acceptance. And some people will had finding meaning. So at acceptance, then you accept that okay,
this has happened.
Eventually.
Now, the question I want to ask, because I know that those grief stages are now, does everybody have to go through these stages? Or, because I see some people who don't accept a loss, even up until, or they don't say they accept it forever, till whatever. They live in that denial stage till whenever.
True.
Sometimes some people don't, maybe they don't get closure. There's this saying, I don't know if it's, they say it's an Igbo saying that, I don't know if I'm saying it rightly, I stand to be corrected here, but said a dead son is better than a missing son. You know, because, as someone asked, why do you say so? Say, because there's closure. You know, and it gives that person acceptance. But does everybody, or I would say that everybody doesn't have to go through all the stages.
Not everybody goes through, so that's fantastic. So grief is a very complex and unique part for each person, for each individual. Yeah. So not everybody will go through that phase, and that's it, basically. You know, you were saying something about closure. I had this colleague that she saved her father's number and she sends WhatsApp message to him. Happy birthday, Dad. She'll send him a message, oh, today my day was this. You know, so refusing to accept that that loss has happened. Yes, significantly, not everybody will go through the same part, and it's a unique part. So in terms of the psychological effect, you could have people having emotional responses. So you're really sad, you are anxious, you are afraid, you feel like you've lost control, you know, and the part of the topic is trying to emphasize the place of fear of failure, and then anxiety. So that's key emotional response. Sometimes the psychological effects could even translate to physiological or physical. Like in my own instance, when I lost my mom, it was so painful that I felt I had a dagger, literally,
and
in my chest.
One thing we need to point out to a lot of people that no two losses are the same. If someone says, oh, I lost my mom, and you lost your mom, we are on the same level, I understand what you're going through. What do you say to that?
Yeah, so it's very difficult. It's a unique part for each person. You just have to find yourself sitting in their shoes as much as possible, right? So don't try to say, oh, I lost my mom, or maybe someone says the mom was 80 years and say, oh, she was old, move past it or something. You know, so you don't try to compare. I saw a woman on Instagram, she has 4 children already, but her first was a miscarriage. And 16th birthday, she says, happy posthumous birthday to my... She still felt it was a miscarriage. Even though she's had 4 children after years, she still feels the impact of that loss. So this is someone that she never even experienced the life. So you don't say, you should be thanking God for the 4 children that you have, right? So each person's part is different.
Maybe sometime we'll have you next out. We'll talk about what it means to really comfort the person, how to go about it, because it seems a lot of people don't know how to do it. So we'll come and be asking you for meat inside their eyes.
find.
There's also to be
the first thing
you.
is just to like listen to them, right?
Yeah.
To listen to them and put yourself in their shoes as much as possible. Don't try to offer.
Yeah. No, I would say listen more than talk.
Of course, listen.
Don't because when you start talking, you don't know where you're going. Just your mouth. Okay, but I love how this is going now. That connection to anxiety and fear of failure. When it so happens, so you've lost somebody and you're dealing with it and all of that. How does it connect to that fear of failure?
I mean, sometimes you blame yourself for what has happened. If you only were a bit more careful and things like that. Basically, anxiety is a mental health issue anyway.
Okay.
And it's very common with many people, right? It's just this intense, but it has to be persistent to be a problem. And there are different types of anxiety, right? So you just hopelessness and worry, intense worry about the future. I'm going to fail, I can't achieve this, and things like that. So that's anxiety when it becomes persistent and becomes a medical problem. So how do you actually get yourself out of this?
Yeah, exactly.
There are a couple of coping strategies, right? First is, I would say, to allow yourself to grieve. Allow yourself to feel your emotions and express your emotions the best way you can.
You can.
Cry if you have to. Write if you have to, find creative expression, maybe in music. Some of the best musics today came out from a place of trauma and worry.
Trauma, yeah, true.
So yeah,
Very
allow yourself find expression, write poetry, and take care of yourself. You know, practice self-compassion.
Yeah.
Pay attention to your physical, like exercises. You know, take walks. For example, that helps me a lot. Every morning, I try to start with like 1 hour work, so I do 6,000 steps, you know, per day, and just reflect and something we call mindfulness, where you allow yourself actually feel the emotions that you're feeling. If you have to cry, then you cry, you know. So another thing is journaling. So journaling, find yourself support groups. There are grief support groups, you know. So I have this support group that I try to set up like twice a year, where people like that can come together. You are listening to people that are going through literally similar things like you are, and then you kind of find strength from that. And if you feel like you might probably need to talk to someone like a therapist, then you need to consider actually talking to a professional, like a therapist, to get you through that phase. You know, have someone, friends, family, support systems. That way, you know, that will be very helpful to you. Thank you so much. I wish we could continue, but you've given us so much value across today, and of course, all the times that you've been here on the show. Sure. And I know that people can definitely reach out to you if they need further, you know, enlightenment on all of this we've been talking about. Well done, KSA. Thank you very much. Thank you, Mike. All right. Okay, so that's it. We'll take a time out now. Stay with us. We will be back with a final guest in a bit.